So you've built your business to about the $3 million mark, but it owns you. And you're the one constantly trying to catch everything falling through the cracks. You don't have any time. And you're wondering, is this scalable from here, or is this the life that I'm now resigned to? I'm going to bring in today's expert that has done the founding, that has done the scaling, and has experienced the exit to take you through this process with a system called EOS. Let me bring in EOS Implementer, Chris Castillo. So Chris, tell me a little bit about what you do.
So first of all, Don, thanks for having me on. This would be great. I get to work with business owners and help them scale their business, or really get unstuck from where they want to be in their business. They're typically stuck in cash flow or people problems, or just they're not getting what they want from their business. And I teach them a system of tools that helps them identify what's not working and help them get what they want from their business in a fast, efficient way. And it also teaches the team what to do, so they're all following the same vision, all working towards that vision, and becoming a healthier team doing it.
Now, are these typically like founders that reach out to you? Are we talking corporate? What are we talking about here for an ideal fit for you?
We work with entrepreneurial companies, typically at least 10 employees and about 3 million or more in revenue. And again, they're stuck, they're in pain. They come back from the weekend and they're fighting a fire because, something didn't go well over the weekend, or somebody's not doing their job, and it's the same thing over and over. And they just are frustrated. Again, entrepreneurs, small to medium businesses, and typically it's somebody in the leadership team, a founder, an owner, partner, maybe a sales leader that heard about me somewhere or a friend told them. And then we just started having a conversation to see if we can help, if EOS is a solution for them.
Yeah, and at that level, that $3 million a year in revenue, 10 employees, about that wheelhouse, you've already passed 95% of businesses in America, right? So, but you have something that obviously people want to buy, and so service they want to invest in. So you got the basics figured out, but you're starting to build your team, and so you got a whole new level of challenges, right? What are some things that you see them that's kind of choking them or keeping them from realizing their potential?
Well, we mentioned a number of people. People are the biggest asset and the biggest weakness of any company, because if they're all working in the same direction, we're rowing in the same direction and working toward the same vision, then it's amazing. When they're not, it is chaos. And so we typically come in on the chaos side, or they're just not all getting it. And 10 employees seems to be the breaking point. They're like, we can deal with 5 or 6 employees. It's fine, which it's not, but it's fine. And they get to 10 and they're like, we should be farther along than we are right now. We have the team. We think we should be at 5 or 10 million, not stuck at 3. Or they're in a peer group and all their peers are making 8, 9, 10, 15 million, and they're not. So that's why it seems to be the tipping point for most businesses, like you said. And 3 million means they have some profitability. They're ready to invest. Specifically, not having the right people in the right seats is what we call it. People that are doing too much work in the business, and now it's time to invest in that one person to do sales, or the one person to do finance, rather than the owner doing 2 or 3 different things. They've run out of time.
And that's the balance, the time versus buying their time back. I mean, you're trying to build something here that an owner or sometimes even the founder, if it's still the owner at that point, is almost the one in the way and the one that needs to make the most change, isn't it?
Yes. And when they realize that, and again, a couple different triggers come into play. When they run out of time, that means they're probably doing things that aren't making money for the company, and just, it's either status quo or keeping their head above water, or they realize that they're not doing a very good job because they're in that seat a third of the time, and in reality, even less than that. And they're holding the team back from, I'll be the sales leader when they're not really the sales leader anymore. Or they just need more bodies to go out and sell, because what they were doing was fine before. What got them to $1 million or 3 million was fine. Now it's just not. Now it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times it's communication, like you said. And I see companies at that level that have either way too many meetings or no meetings. So what's kind of a good rule of thumb here? What do you tend to establish?
Well, you notice in companies that meetings are typically not very valuable. There's no really results coming out of the meetings. So they keep having meetings to have meetings. And it's really because the leaders aren't sure if their people know what they're doing or know what done looks like. And the communication, we talk about that. The complexity issue is the more people you have in the business, the more complex it is. The lines of communication they become exponentially more confusing the more people you have. So we start out by saying, let's just have one great meeting for the leadership team beginning of the week to get everybody aligned with what we have to do this week. We already have a plan for the quarter. That's what we're working towards. What's getting in our way this week? Let's talk about that. Get everybody on the same page so they can execute this week and then manage the exceptions, right? They already have a plan. That's what we have to do this week. Here's what happened last week. We need to adjust or fix, and then everything else that might come and get in their way, rather than the other way around, where they're fighting, swatting at flies all the time because they just don't have a plan, and they don't get their work done. They don't talk to their people, and everybody's productivity goes down because there's no clear plan.
Yeah, and right now to this point, it sounds like you could be talking about almost any industry out there, but are there some areas that you specialize in or that you find this to be really impactful?
Well, EOS can work with any company, again, typically 10 to 250 people, 3 million to 250 million is the nice sweet spot for EOS. Because again, it's agnostic. It works with any company that wants to use this system to help them run their business. And again, it's a business operating system called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. But what it does, it gives you a framework of how to run your business and change your behavior and manage the human energy of the business. What I typically get attracted to is family-owned businesses, because I survived one, professional services, service-based businesses, because again, people are the biggest challenge in those businesses. That being said, I've talked to coaching companies, I've talked to CPA firms, a lot of, it really doesn't matter as long as they're typically in pain. And the cool thing about our community here in EOS, if they want to talk about EOS and I'm not the right person for them, I can always refer them to somebody that may be a better fit for them. But again, most of the time, we just want to talk to them and see if we can help them if they're willing to do the work, because this is a change of how you run your business. It is, it's life-changing for a lot of businesses. And that's why it takes about 2 years to learn the system. And when you as a leadership team learn the system and you teach the people below you, then I know you've got it and you're actually running on EOS. And that tells me you're ready you're a self-managed team from then on out. But yeah, like I said, I'll talk to anybody that is running a business that feels like they're in pain and could use some help. If they think they need somebody with certain experience or background on top of the EOS, then we can refer that. But again, I've worked with, in my past, I've been at Hewlett Packard. I've had my own service business, worked in grocery stores. So I've done a lot of different things, and a lot of that experience is good. But what I do is EOS, and if they want me to teach them EOS, I can do that.
Well, and this sounds like the processes that you would get from hiring a CEO at $5-6 million a year if you were a $100 million company, right? Now, at a $3 to $10 million company, you're not paying a CEO $5 million a year. But these are some of the processes that they would be putting in place almost before you're ready. You're like building a bridge to get to that level and that next step.
Yeah, we have a lot of. Right now, fractional blanks are a big thing, right? Fractional integrators, fractional CIOs, things like that, because they're companies that are, small to medium size that just don't have the income yet, the profitability yet to hire a full-time, let's see, controller or a CFO. So we have fractional people that can come in and solve that, but we don't know what they need until we can get in there and start opening the hood and seeing what's underneath there. Because again, typically they'll have one person in multiple seats. When I mean seats is either the integrator seat, sales, marketing, operations, finance seat, things like that, because they have to do that. There's nobody else to do it. And the reality is the business needs more and they're holding the team back. So let's start talking about filling that seat with the right person. When you get the right person in that seat, magic happens, because that's what they're focused on 100% of the time. Finance seats typically run by the spouse-ish. Once in a while, they get a report. But if they don't have good numbers, we can't run the business. So we need to talk about numbers. And if they get a fractional in there to bridge where they are to where they need to be, that typically helps for 6 months or a year. And then they can see the value of that. And then they say, now we need somebody full-time, because Now it's going to take us to that next level. We didn't know what we didn't know. Now we got a glimpse. Now we're going to invest this money now because we're going to get it back within a year.
Well, and the right process, the right system. I mean, you're really working yourself out of a job, but there's plenty of companies to go help, right? So this is the idea to get them self-sufficient, about a 2-year turnaround from nothing all the way through. It's just the lifeblood of the entire enterprise, isn't it?
Yes. And again, our job is to teach them EOS. It isn't a magic pill or a silver bullet kind of thing. It isn't a seminar. It is changing the way you do business, changing the way you behave in your business, and what the standard looks like in your business. So there are tools in EOS, but it isn't just a tool. It's a way of life. And we tell people when we teach them, they realize they should have done this earlier, but also they realize they've gotten their time back. They were stuck doing $5 an hour work where they should be, as a leadership team, doing $100 an hour work. So if we can get them to out of their own way, out of their own way, just to say, okay, who should be doing that work? We need to train that person or get the right person in there so you can level up and start talking about the next iteration of this business. Who should you be serving? Do you need to look for the next location? How do we grow this business? Or if you want to sell it, what does that look like? Selling takes about 2 years, if that. They can even get a buyer. We're great at coming in at the beginning of that to help you get a standard in the business, because businesses running on EOS sell for 2 to 3 times more because the buyers are buying a company running on a system already. They don't have to do anything with them. They just acquire them, or if they run an EOS, it makes it a good fit when they acquire and just bring those people right in, and they just keep humming along. So if we can make that happen, it allows them to get some certainty and get their time back so they can start doing what they want in the business. You can imagine a visionary who's not very good at the day-to-day, right? They're not good at being in the weeds, but they're stuck in the integrator seat. They're managing people and they just want to go out and, build big relationships. They have lots of ideas, but they don't need to be in the office every day. And they're stuck in that seat. That happens a lot. And if we can get them a partner to run the business for them so they can be the visionary seat and get the integrator to run the day-to-day, that frees them up and then gives them a glimpse of what the future looks like for them.
Well, and that's how you get 1 + 1 = 11, right? I mean, if you got businesses like you're talking about that size, trading for 2.5, 3.5 times earnings, and you're going to be able to get just another level up. Not only should you, over the next 2 years, improve those earnings, systematize those processes.
That's right.
But then you're also not integral part of the business. I mean, you're not looking at getting bought and having to work for another 2 or 3 years as a job after you sold it, right? So yeah, there's a lot of great things that'll return on the investment. But I actually want to focus on one of the first things that you do with people, and I know you meet some resistance on this, but it's really setting up core values and culture.
Yes. Well, the reality is every company has a culture, good, bad, or indifferent. They have something going on, and we have found time and time again that people stay because of a great culture. They want to be part of a great team. There's a reason why sports teams that have great cultures win most of the time. And it all starts from the top down. The owners have to realize that they have to show up early to set the standard. And with a bad culture in a company, that means there's no standard, and no one really cares. And then they get mad at the people for not caring, but they realize that the people are not seeing that they don't care. So it's really, we talk about that in the first couple sessions, because identifying what culture they want to have, and then they start seeing what they do or don't have in their business. That is the foundation for how we manage our people. Specifically, are they the right people? Do they fit our culture? But first we have to find out what kind of culture they have. And we have to talk about core values. If we can get it out of their head and all agree as a leadership team, yeah, these are the 3 to 5 words that describe our culture. And then we can use those in our hiring process, in our firing process, and how we recognize and manage our people, because it's a way, again, to set a standard. And when we have that, it makes things so much easier when you want to hire people. When I talked before, when you're in too many seats, we need to start investing in people. Wouldn't it be great if you knew what kind of person you want to work with, and also what job they need to do that they're 100% qualified for? Would it be easier for you to hire the right person? Probably yes. Because before, you were hiring to fill a seat and you didn't have those questions, or you didn't have those standards set. But once we have those, it makes getting the right people, you have a higher percentage of finding the right people by having those already in place.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're going to take a few sessions with that leadership team early on in the process, really dive into what's working, what's not, and then teaching EOS, supporting them with some support afterwards. But what's the first step? Someone listen to this now. I mean, they're 15 minutes into listening to this. How do they even reach out to you, see if this is a fit?
So I set up a phone call with them. We typically have a discovery call because I want to hear about their business. Tell me about your business. Tell me what's working. What do you do really well? And tell me what's not working. Because I can't help all the business owners. There's only so many people that we can help that actually want help. Again, we are teaching you a system to change the behavior of how you run your business. Are you in? And then if that call goes well and you think this is viable, we do a free sessions with your leadership team. Because again, the team has to be all in. We are changing again. We're going to change the way you see your business, and we need a whole team to buy into this. Once we do that, we get everybody to say, yes, we want to do this. Then we start and dig right into the structure of the business and work from there and start teaching them the tools of EOS. But it starts with a phone call, because the other part of this, the deeper part of this, is I need to build a relationship with the leader and the leadership team and build a level of trust, because I will have to push them to be great. They say they want to be great. Sometimes you need your personal trainer to say, you need to kick in the butt once in a while because you're not doing what you said you're going to be doing. And we just need to get better at that, with the intent of you teaching the people below you, and you need to have the same expectations for them. So we need to have a level of trust. If we trust each other, then we can work well together. You will become great. I can get out of your way. You can run your business. I go find somebody else to help.
Well, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of online videos, a lot of free stuff out there to all kind of try to address some of these areas. But it's really that having someone to hold their hand and be their personal trainer, like you put it, that's the difference between this working and not working most of the time, isn't it?
Yes. And you can read the book. We talk about this. There are free tools in the book. But I mentioned this when we first started. Business owners that are in pain, the common denominator here is lack of time. They have no time in their business. So can you be open and honest with me and say, yeah, you're going to read the book and actually start implementing this in your business when you don't have the time to read it and begin with? So, and that's just a fact. And I was there in my previous business. I know how that is. And it's like, this would be great. And I hear this all the time. I thought this 5 years ago and I just never read the book again, kind of thing. And that's why they could do it, but it will take longer, and it will be a slower process and more painful. And here's the problem with that. They will skip things in the learning process, not only on their side, but also teaching their team, that will hinder their growth down the way. And they're going to realize, wow, this didn't really get us where we wanted to go, when they miss 5 of the foundational tools up front. So this is what I do full time for the last 5 years. I scaled my previous business with it. I know it works. It works for, we're over 300,000 companies running on EOS right now in the world. We're trying to get to 1 million. So I know it works. We just got to get the team to do it. And if you want to do it the best and fastest way, you get an implementer. It just, the data shows us that.
And what's that number to reach out to you to get that, just to have that first phone call, see if this is a fit?
I'm available. Direct is 916-717-3332. And it's on my LinkedIn profile as well. And you can even book an appointment for us to call. And again, free phone call. If this sounds great, we do a free session with your leadership team. Again, I need everybody to be bought in with this. And if you all say yes, then we can start our journey together. And if you say no, you get a free book, and you can call with any questions. I'll gladly help you along the way if you want to do it yourself. And then, just help first on that, from that perspective. And some teams that are too small, they can't afford it. Totally fine. Here's the book. Call me if you need help.
Well, so listen, if you're still watching this at this point, I mean, that sounds like a no risk thing for me. That sounds like a no brainer for me, especially if right now you realize that you've done most of the heavy lifting, and as your business has grown, you've just picked up more. You haven't put anything down. And maybe if your team right now, every time there's a direction, there's a missing loop, an assignment missed, a refund to be done, a bad customer experience, a bad review, are you really going to go fix all those paper cuts, or do you need a process and a system so you can start working on the business? I mean, right now you may feel chained in it, and I'll tell you, your business is not worth what you think it is if you're the integral part. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have a role to do. I mean, what I'm going to get into with Chris in a minute here is, okay, so if I'm able to be the visionary again, I'm able to look above the cap table, look out to where we're heading, what's next. Maybe I can look at an acquisition or growth or maybe it's a whole new stream of revenue we've been missing because we're barely handing on to the win we have. So getting this process set in place not only has a return if you decide to sell, but has a return if you decide to keep and legacy this business, this opportunity to be a real business owner, not just an employee. And maybe that's how you got started. Maybe that's what got you here. But as Chris said, that's not going to get you where you want to go. Where you want to go is that 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million and beyond, you're going to need a process. And if it's not this process, good luck. I mean, you can piece it together, you can bubble gum and duct tape it, but they've done this, over 300,000 companies in the U.S. running on EOS. I mean, why are you going to reinvent the wheel here? You have someone from the outside who he's going to be coaching you as much as your team. Now, he'll probably do that in private. He'll have some really tough conversations with you, but he's ultimately going to set up for you a integrator into your business so you can be the visionary. You have someone who thinks maybe differently than you, not better, not worse, but thinks differently than you to pick up those tasks and systematize that process. Now, maybe your mind is a systematizing brain, and maybe you like that. Well, you better have someone on your team looking down the road so you know where you're heading the right way. And that's what I want to ask next, Chris, is once they're into this process and they're building this up, that really, yes, everyone in the right seat. I mean, you got sales, operations, and you got finance. And those are the three key seats, but you need someone to tie that all together. Talk to me a little bit about that role in regards to EOS.
So when we start the whole process, we talk on the very first day of the journey with the client, not the free session. This is when we're actually working with a client that says, yes, we're all in. We talk about the structure of the business. What do we need in this business to move forward in the next 6 to 12 months? Because that's going to lay the groundwork for our vision. Because if they say we're at 3.5 and I want to be to 10 in 3 years, okay, we establish the gap. That helps me understand where that person wants to go. The other question is, does the whole team understand that? Because the team is probably going to say, I'm not sure how we're going to do that. This is what we do when we work on this process. We get the structure set. Okay, who do we need on the team and the company to work towards that? Because it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. But once we open the hood and start seeing what the structure looks like and start seeing the holes, then we can say, okay, who's actually leading the leadership team? Is it the visionary or is there an integrator somewhere? Because we have to have an integrator. Someone's got to run the day-to-day. Someone's got to be in the weeds. Someone's got to be able to, like, in any company, there's a foreman out there checking out the landscape before the crew shows up. There's got to be somebody running the day-to-day. And you can't have somebody doing it part-time because that's what it is. It's part-time and you get less than what you need for the seat. Now, initially, that's probably what's going to happen. But the only question is when we're going to fix that, get the other person in the seat so that one person can be the integrator. And if there isn't an integrator, maybe the visionary will do it part-time, which isn't the best thing, but at least it's something. But that will be on our plan within the next 3 to 6 months, getting somebody in that seat. If not full-time, maybe a fractional. That will help them set the standard. This is how we do business here. Wouldn't it be great if you had somebody in your business that showed up early, stayed late, not that late, but they with the mentality that they're there ready to help the team execute. A great integrator loves managing people, understands the P&L and is withheld within the budget of the P&L, and also knows what resources the team has and doesn't have and works to get those resources put in place for the team. Their job as an integrator is to manage the people in their charge. So they're not in charge, but they're there to be responsible for the people in their charge. And their success is based on the team's success. And if their job is there to make sure the leadership team has time to execute, time to do the right things in their business and helps them break down barriers so they can be successful, that's a great integrator. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of great integrators in some companies, and they have to find one or they have to bring one up from down below from the accountability chart. But like I said, you get a fractional in there that teaches them how to be an integrator, and somebody will probably elevate up. And that might get them going. And then we check on that every quarter to make sure, are they still the person in the right seat? Do they still want to be here? Because there are people I found my own business and doing this work that they like the startup phase. They like the chaos of the startup, but then it gets to 5 or 10 and they're like, yeah, I'm sort of bored. I'm going to go find something else to do, which is okay. We want people we want people to be here because they want to be here. And sometimes there are changes need to be made because now you're at 10 million, you want to go to 25. And that might take a different kind of person, but having the tools in place to make those decisions quickly is what we do in the very first day so that we can start helping you grow as you're going through the business. We call that the evolution of the business. And then when you get stuck, when somebody leaves, that's revolution. Like you're hitting the ceiling and you need to, what do we do now? And sometimes that seat, not the integrator seat, but some other seat, maybe it's not needed anymore. Maybe technology will replace that. Maybe you can outsource that because you didn't like, there was nobody here locally that can do it. Like there's, VAs, things like that. There's technology, AI, things like that. That can solve some problems when it comes to tools and resources. You still obviously need people to work the business and make decisions in the business and be critical about what's working, what's not in the business.
Let me change gears for just one moment, talking about you, Chris. I mean, you mentioned your own business you scaled. You mind sharing like what industry that was in? How were you able to grow it? What was EOS an impact there?
Yes, it was. So great question. Let's see. That business started in 2010. My wife at the time and I started it, and we really were being successful in spite of ourselves. And we got to a point about 2 million in revenue. And we had the business in California. It was a coaching company, and it was good. But when we started talking about growing it, we knew we couldn't do it in California. So we moved to Texas to scale it, which means adding people. And I was never taught how to manage people, and I was the integrator, and I didn't even know what that word meant at the time. I just was it. She was the visionary, I was the integrator, as it turned out. And I couldn't keep doing shipping and receiving, finance, and customer service if I wanted to do the other 6 things I was doing in the business. So I started hiring people and realized I didn't know how to manage them. I'm like, here's the process. Good luck. See you later. Right? That was it. I'm assuming they knew what they were doing. Not the case. So as we were growing, it got more complex, and we realized we needed a system, found EOS and started implementing that in the business. And every year since we moved here, it just kept growing and doubling in the coaching company, in the coaching business. And when I exited, we had all the processes documented. I didn't get any phone calls on any questions of anything because it was already written down. I did all that work, and all the team did that work, because once we created the process format, we made the team fill out their own processes, because that allowed them to be autonomous and allowed them to manage their own process, meaning they would know when something broke, they would fix it with the mentality. This is key here. The mentality is, once you leave, your replacement will come in at this level, not down at ground zero. They need to be able to come in, hit the ground running, and have a good chance of being successful based on how you left the process. And that applied to everybody. And then I started doing EOS based on this experience with EOS in 2020, because I was the guy working till 2 a.m., not going to the gym. Once I got home Monday afternoon, Monday evening, I was already behind on the week because I got stuck doing customer emails. I wasn't doing the things that mattered in the business. I was just fighting fires and keeping my head above water. So EOS really gave us clarity of like, okay, stop doing these things. Oh, by the way, if you're doing this and it's really somebody else's job, you probably have a people problem, that kind of thing. And it just allowed us to grow as a company and being able to run it. When I left, we had 9 employees, and it was at almost 27 million. So you don't need a ton of people to make a lot of money and be profitable. Also depends on your industry, but I realized EOS was the key. It helped clarify and gave a structure and a framework of how to do things and how to not do things and how to manage people. I learned everything about managing somebody from EOS. It was amazing, reading traction and how to be a great boss. I mean, MBA program of managing managing an employee. And I wish I would have done it earlier. I hear that from all my clients. I wish I would have started this earlier. But with that, started doing EOS 5 years ago. And I just want to help people that are in the spot that I was in 6 years ago, when pulling my hair out, trying to get my work done. And I'm not being successful, and knowing I just need to rethink the business, but I had no time to do so. I was just, again, fighting fires, trying to be the hero. And the reality is it's not healthy and it's not sustainable, and you can't build a business that way.
All of a sudden you look up and if you started your business and left a corporate job or lost your corporate job, and now you're building this thing where you're making less money and working twice as hard. I mean, that's not what we all go through that point at some point in our evolution as entrepreneur, but we don't want to live there very long. I mean, we want to get through that phase.
That's right. And that is normal for startups, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. The question is, when is that going to change? Because you are limited. You're not limitless. And there's always going to be a cap here. And your team's going to have a cap till we actually start deciding who do we need on the team, as we talked about before, to get us to that next level. And then who do you need on that version of that team to the next level, and so forth. Now, you have to want to go there. You have to say, we're at 3, we want to get to 10. Okay, we know what we're going to do. Or we want to have 6 different locations. Okay, I know what that looks like. Let's fix all the things with the one location before we duplicate that, and so on and so forth. So if we can make those things, get that clarified right off the bat, it makes the growth a little easier. And it's hard work, but it will get easier as we get better at EOS. And then they realize their company running their business is not that hard because they're in control now and they have their time back.
And then they can start being way more strategic with that time, right? Way more strategic with the next move. It's not a panic. You're not reacting. You're actually driving. And that's a whole different feeling. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you're in a room and an issue comes up outside of your business and you have a conversation of, here's the plan for the quarter and for the year. How does this affect our business? Does it? If it doesn't, let's just do what we do. If it does, what's really the risks here? What do we have to consider here? And what can we control and what's out of our control, right? And if we can stay the course, it makes running that business a lot easier, because running a business is emotional. And if things are changing on the outside world, which they are, people can get stuck in that emotion and get stuck. We call it tyranny of the urgent. Everything's important when it's not really that important. Because if you have a plan, we talk about this in our the second and third day we're working with clients. When we create your VTO, your Vision Traction Organizer, it's the plan. This is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there. And we're pretty confident this is going to work. And then all we do is manage the exceptions. Because wouldn't it be great if you're running your business, 80% of your day was already planned out, 80% of your week was planned out, and 20% of it might be a distraction or something like that, or just maybe something that doesn't really apply to your business, but you had the capacity to look at it objectively and move forward rather than always being reactive. Being reactive, again, kills the momentum of a business and teaches your people below you that they can be reactive, and that's the standard of the business.
Yep. That's the big piece is getting down through the leadership team, through management, down to even the front lines where they're all facing the same direction, all know what's important. I sometimes refer to them as 90-day sprints. I know EOS calls them rocks, but that really sets up your 3-year cycles. If you want to get to where you want to go in 3 or 10 years, you've mapped out where that needs to be. Now you've broken it down to what needs to happen in this quarter, along with the day-to-day that doesn't go away, but hopefully you build some processes to manage that with the right people. I'll tell you, Chris, anyone still watching this at this point, if you're on the fence about reaching out and booking that call or just having that first call, I think that, Chris, you're just going to call that number and talk to. This is not like a book an appointment thing. It's just hey, let's have a conversation. Let's see if this fits. I can't think of any reason why you would hesitate, why you would wait. It's not going to get any easier, not going to get any better if you let this thing just fester. And if you're relating to any of these, I mean, listen, Chris, this is the stuff that all businesses need to handle at some point. There's no one out there immune from what we're talking about today. And I know some of this may be a little general. You may say, well, does this work with my landscaping business or would this work with my print shop? Yeah. Yes. Yes, it would. Now, the purpose of the call, the purpose of the meeting with your team, that's all to see if Chris is the right fit and EOS is the right fit. And let's be honest, also, if he thinks he can add value to you and your team. He's not going to pursue this. There's a lot of work on him. Chris, you take some of these clients' problems to bed with you. I mean, they live with you. They're in your brain. You're solving them with them. And this is a lot for him to take on as well. And he only has a plate that can be so big too. So like that first call, unless you correct me if I'm wrong, that's a fit on both sides. So don't hesitate. Yes. Don't wait. Reach out. Make that call. Chris, I really appreciate your time. I want to leave with the last word here. What do you want to leave the audience with today?
Yeah, really, if you're not getting what you want from your business, let's have a conversation. Because again, If nothing else, there's probably a tool I can give you that will solve what you're going through this week and give you a little bit of clarity of what EOS is and how it can help you, and see if that will, move you forward. But don't stay in pain any longer, because there's no reason for it. You need your time back to grow a great business, and you only can do that by making sure you have your time back and your team gets their time back.
Awesome. Chris, appreciate you being here, man. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks, Don. It was great being here.